So much money is made online, and buying an already profitable online business is the cheat code, right? We all know that. This is how the real rich build wealth. They buy assets, they buy property and businesses. It's the actual shortcut. But of course, there's a but. You need to buy the right business, right? So do yourself a favor and avoid these 15 scams some sellers may use when you're looking to buy a business. Now, for an experienced eye, these are easy to see, right? I've seen thousands of deals, but as a beginner, these are absolutely critical for you to know. But first up, where can you find these businesses? I've got a list of different marketplaces in the description of this video with links so you can go away and check them out. The first one is Empire Flippers. These are one of the most trusted platforms for buying vetted e-commerce businesses, also media businesses and recurring revenue businesses. We're talking YouTube channels, Facebook pages, groups, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts. You can buy blogs, you can buy software businesses, you can buy e-learning businesses, apps, all different types of businesses on Empire Flippers. Yes, you'll need to sign up. You can get a free account, and sometimes you will need to provide proof of funds to get access to deals, and they give you a certain amount of deals you can unlock to get the information to move forwards and do further due diligence. Another one is Quite Light. These are great businesses, or great marketplace that sell mostly e-commerce brands. Sometimes they do sell a blog here and there or a software business, but mostly they're selling e-commerce businesses. Then you also have Website Closers. These guys sell more high-end deals, more established businesses. We're talking 7 to 8 figures plus. And then you also got websiteproperties.com as well. And they're great for serious buyers looking to buy sustainable businesses. Now, what I like about these marketplaces is they pre-vet deals before they list them for sale because they have a reputation. They're not going to want to just sell any business or try to sell any business because they're going to waste their time. And if they sell crappy businesses, they're going to get a bad reputation. So they're very good. Check them out. There is one other place, Flipper. Obviously, it's the biggest marketplace for buying and selling online businesses. So beware of the self-listed ones. Most people that are self-listing their own businesses, they don't provide that much data for their business. They don't know how to sell a business. So also sometimes a business can be a bit messy and it's hard to understand the data as well. And when you realize and understand the psychology of somebody selling their own business, they're trying to save money. Right? That's the psychology. And do you really want somebody or want to own a business from somebody who is trying to save money and is cutting corners and operating that way? Or would you rather buy a business from somebody that would pay a broker a good hefty fee to sell their business for them? Yes, you can find diamonds in the rough on Flipper. I've bought businesses that are self-listed as myself, and so have clients. It is harder to find them. But on Flipper, they do have brokers that typically sell better deals, where somebody will find a broker that the broker will list their business on Flipper for them. So check out Flipper. It's definitely a place to look at. There's also a link to them in the description. And then lastly, Google. Jump on Google because there's always new different brokerage sites and places that pop up for different types of businesses for sale. For example, for newsletters, you can go to Juice. For YouTube channels, you can go to FameSwap or Easy Viral. You can buy TikTok accounts and all those sorts of things. So type into Google where to buy TikTok accounts, where to buy YouTube channels, where to buy newsletters, where to buy great e-commerce businesses. Lastly, if you really, really wanted to, you could do outreach. It is a mission. It's a massive job to do outreach. And I would say you're better off hiring an advisor to do outreach for you and pay for that. So I urge you, take a look at those marketplaces. You'll be surprised. There's a bunch of great businesses and your eyes will be open to the return on investment you can actually get from these types of businesses. Now to the scams. What are some of the things that we should be avoiding? Number one, fake revenue. Now, you want to get access to their Shopify account. You want to get access to their merchant account, maybe Stripe or PayPal. Yes, you can get screenshots. This can work, but it is good to get access to get real proof or at least a video recording. Sometimes screenshots can be edited and butchered, right? But it's better to verify these live and have platform access so you don't just get fake revenue. You can also, for larger deals, 500K upwards, you can hire a CPA, chartered accountant, to redo the books for you to make sure the figures are all accurate and everything cross correlates and makes sense. Secondly is profit pumping before the sale of a business. Some sellers will just crank up the ad spend and inflate the revenue before they list their business for sale. Or they'll do a big massive sale, making the numbers look really good and that make the business look amazing, but they're just exhausting their business and exhausting their lists and exhausting their ads, and maybe that is unsustainable. So something to be aware of is profit pumping before sale. Another thing is that, maybe a business isn't profit pumping, but they're getting, decent growth. Maybe you could see that there's still room left on the table for scalability. So that's the second one. The third one is refund and chargeback manipulations. What you want to be asking sellers of e-commerce businesses or software businesses is, what is the refund rate? Do they have a high refund rate? Typically, you can check this in Shopify and also Amazon. And do they have chargebacks as well? And who handles these? Who handles the chargebacks? Who's liable for them? Is it for your manufacturer, the drop shipper or the supplier that you're working with, to have to pay the chargebacks and provide the refund, or is it off you as a business owner? So understanding the refund rates and who's liable for these chargebacks is really, really important. Sometimes sellers will manipulate those figures and tell you that their refund rates aren't that good, or they have specific chargebacks that they try to hide. So very, very important to be checking that out. The fourth one is a one product wonder business, right? So say, for example, the whole business relies on one trending product that's slowly phasing out. For example, it could be a fidget spinner or something that's quite faddy, or a fad type gimmicky product. It could be a certain type of apparel that was very popular at one stage. It could be a certain, it could be maybe an iPhone, they're only selling a couple of old iPhone cases or something like that. So having a one product wonder business is very scary, because it's also got single source dependency, but also if it's going out of fashion. Understand that one. A fifth one is stale or stolen traffic. Now, stale traffic is traffic that's obviously declining, right? But stolen traffic is one to be very wary of. Are there paid bots, or is there a PBN, which is a private blog network, which is actually against a lot of the terms of service for search engines, where they have specific backlinks to a website from other websites they either own or they know the owners of, that can artificially boost traffic and domain rating metrics. Paid bots is very important to be able to check. So you want to be getting Google Analytics access or viewers access to where the traffic is tracked, to see where the traffic is coming from and if it's actually making sense. The sixth one is supply disputes. If seller doesn't tell you they have a supplier that's about to cut ties, it's very scary. What's the relationship like with the seller of the supplier of your products? Are they leaving you without inventory after purchasing it, or is the lead time to get inventory taking very, very long, or have they put up their prices, or has the relationship started to go sour over a certain period of time? I know for myself, I sold a business that the relationship with the supplier wasn't great. The seller knew about it. They had an alternative motive. So I made it clear to the seller, but the reality is that, a lot of buyers might not make that clear. So you need to be doing some supplier due diligence, or maybe there's also single source dependency on one single supplier, which also is a risk, but it also can be easily fixed. Whilst you're doing due diligence, you may be able to find another supplier that could provide similar or same products in case something happens with the primary supplier. Number 7 is fake customer reviews. Sometimes people pay for profile reviews from bots or Fiverr gigs. So go and look at the reviews and look for authenticity. Okay, and you can also use tools like Fake Spot to spot different fake reviews as well. So you want to be looking at the customer reviews and then sort of see is there just a whole bunch that are just inflated and they just don't really make sense, or the language isn't great, or it's overly hyped reviews. Something to check for. Number 8 is duplicate listings. Some small businesses, they list on multiple platforms and all the different prices with sort of shady details, and they've altered the details. I've seen sellers do this because they weren't able to sell on one of the primary platforms. Say, for example, they might list with a broker and they might have an exclusivity agreement with them. And once that has stopped, then they haven't sold it, they might go try sell it somewhere else. Okay, maybe it's not just the business, maybe it is the broker, but typically if a business is good, it's going to sell without much marketing anyway, right? The market's going to want to get it because it's a great business. So something to be very, very wary of. Next is revenue from unsustainable ads. For example, if the business only works with a massive but barely profitable ad spend of 1.5 ROAS, return on ad spend, or less, that's scary, right? Because your business isn't super profitable, and the hardest thing is making sure the ads profitable and making sense. And if they're not, there's not much margin because you're running ads and they're not very profitable, then how are you going to scale the business? Especially as algorithms change for running ads on Google and Meta and different places. It's only a matter of time until some ads do stop working as well, and you need to reinvent the wheel and come up with new ads again. If there's no room for ad scalability, that can be a massive risk to be avoiding. Next up is non-transferable assets. For example, sometimes merchants accounts like Stripe accounts can't be transferred. If it's maybe a US account can't be transferred to somebody who's in the UK or vice versa. Sometimes the domain is not able to be transferred, or supplier relationships won't be transferred, or ad accounts aren't transferable. Back a couple of years ago, when people were buying a lot of websites and blogs, they had ad revenue from specific advertising accounts like AdThrive and Mediavine, and those ad accounts weren't transferable to a new owner. So you would need to reapply for an ad account. And the risk would be, if the traffic had fallen below a certain metric that you needed the business to have to get accepted when you reapply for an ad account, then you may lose a bunch of revenue. So that's one thing to be very, very wary of, is ad accounts, supplier relationships, domain, hosting, merchant accounts, and stuff like that aren't transferable. Next is phantom teams. Maybe they're selling, the business, and they say they have a team full of people helping them, but it's really just the owner doing all the work. So when you're doing due diligence, what you need to do is you need to check to see what are all the tasks, and then who performs all those tasks, but how long do all those tasks take on each line item per hour as well, per week or per month, and start to see, okay, maybe there is somebody helping or not. So you really need to be understanding that throughout due diligence. We talked about traffic before, but a big risk is a decline in traffic. Long-term downward trends disguised as seasonality can be a massive excuse when you're looking at buying a business. And it might be a long-term downtrend of like 6 months to 8 months or a year. It might be disguised as seasonality. So you want to look back on multiple years of the business, if that is happening, to see if seasonality patterns are the same. Also, maybe one season a year earlier or 2 years earlier had more traffic, and if now in the present day it has less traffic, then obviously it's still a decline over time. So understand the traffic trends. It's very, very important. Next is we want to talk about platform rules and violations. So if you're buying, say, an Amazon business, has that one or a couple of their listings been taken down for violating terms of service within Amazon? Or has that happened with Shopify or Etsy or eBay? Do they have one strike, or do they have multiple strikes? Or are they one strike away from being banned on those platforms from selling at all? So asking about platform rule violations and searching into that throughout due diligence is very, very important. Another critical one is hidden debts or pending lawsuits. So for larger businesses, typically 7 figures or 500K and up, is you might have a lawyer that will do some legal DD on the owners and look into, do they have any pending lawsuits? Does the company have any pending lawsuits? Or do the people or the company have any hidden debts have not been disclosed throughout due diligence or through the purchase of the business? So you need to be looking for those liabilities and dig deep into legal and financial due diligence to sort of see what there's anything hidden there. Next is inflated multiples. Of course, this is a big one. As online businesses and acquiring online businesses becomes more popular, then multiples start to go up, because owning an online business, let's face it, is better typically in general than owning a brick and mortar business where you need to go in and you're tied to a location. Owning an online business, you can work your own hours anywhere in the world. So the valuations start to creep up, but you don't want to be fall victim to absurd evaluation or valuations for businesses listed by sellers or brokers for mediocre business that's, preying on beginners who actually don't know better. So how do you resolve this? Is you have somebody like myself or somebody experienced in the space that knows the valuation of businesses in the current market for the size of business you're looking for. Absolutely critical. So there's at least 15 really big mistakes to avoid, but what's the opposite to that, right? What does a good business actually look like versus like what I've just mentioned of those red flags and mistakes to avoid? Well, a good business typically has consistent income, right? And variable financials. So the income is either stable, consistent, or slowly growing, right? They might have clean books, at least 1 year of verifiable income, ideally up to 24 to 36 months, longer, or 24 to 36 months at a minimum if you're getting finance, looking at tax returns, P&Ls, and different platform statements for proof of proof of financials. Secondly, a great business has a great source of traffic. Maybe they've got one really single source of traffic, which might be organic, and it's working really, really well. That can be a little bit of a risk, but it can be an opportunity as well to add another traffic source. But great businesses typically do have maybe 1 to 2 different traffic sources because it spreads the risk between platforms. Okay, so maybe they've got a bit of email, organic traffic, maybe a bit of paid, maybe a bit of social, maybe a bit of referral traffic working for them. So they're not so reliant on just one. And talking about single source dependency on traffic, this is my third thing that you should be highlighting that a good business has, is not just single source dependency on traffic, but also has multiple revenue streams, not just like a single product they're just selling, maybe having multiple products, and then maybe selling from not just Amazon, but also maybe a little bit from Shopify, or maybe they've got some ad revenue and some affiliate revenue, or maybe they have a product and service, but they also have a newsletter that is a subscription as well. So multiple revenue streams do help. Then you have an established brand. A great business is an established brand. The larger the business is, the better the brand. We're talking about a solid domain authority, positive customer feedback, and a great social media presence. The larger the brand, typically the better the business is. Typically, obviously there's caveats, but something to look for. Also the engagement on social media, not just having like a lot of followers, but this engagement as well. Another great thing on a great business to look for is like stable or growing trends. Like we talked about in traffic, like is the traffic stable or is it going up? We don't want major dips. Item that a great business has is like team, and documented SOPs, standard operating procedures in place, so someone else can just step in and run, or you can hire an assistant to just run those systems for you. That's a really good quality of a great business. Also, a reliable supply chain. If you're looking at an e-commerce business that is purchasing from manufacturers, you want a supply chain that is sending the product to your warehouse within a decent time frame, and the relationship's good between them, right? And you've been consistently buying for many years or many months. That's very, very healthy. Another good metric for a great business is like great repeat customers, having a high customer retention rate, having low refund rates, having a strong lifetime value, having a high profit margin. Those metrics are really, really healthy. Next, low owner involvement. Of course, that's attractive. You don't want to be buying a business that is actually a job, right? You don't want to be just buying a 40-hour per week business when you can just do that from work without the risk of owning the business. Ideally, you want to have a business that's, costing you no more than 10 hours a week, around 5 hours a week. Then we also want to make sure there's some meat left in the bone for the business when you purchase it, that you have some untapped marketing potentials or traffic potentials or products or some wins. Typically, I can see this in all businesses because everything has infinite opportunity. Next, you have obviously, clean legals. There's no IP issues, no trademarks, everything's transferable. And then you've got accurate and reliable valuation, a realistic valuation. A good business knows what it's worth and they're not trying to inflate the numbers. They don't want to just try and play games. They just want to sell their business to one person as fast as possible. So they're going to price the business right, and they're probably not going to try to nickel and dime you too much. They're going to want you to come to an agreement quite fast to make the transaction happen quite fast. So there you go, guys. There's basically 15 things to avoid and 12 different reasons a business looks good. And of course, I help people buy businesses. Check out buyingonlinebusiness.com if you want my due diligence framework, buyingonlinebusiness.com/free resources. It takes the guesswork out of buying a business. If you're buying a business over 7 figures, reach out to me. I can either help you and advise or refer you to somebody who can. If you like the video, obviously smash the like button. Just go bananas on it for me, please. It's very, very helpful. Also, let me know what you did like about the video in the comments so I can create more content like this for you guys. See ya.